Hurts to keep my eyes open with the fan blowing into them.
I don't see Yukon. I don't know if it's on.
We'll find out. I'll check the feeds. But yes, we're warming up. Okay, I see it.
So it just means Restream is not showing us view counts again.
Mm-hmm. But yes, we're warming up. We'll be starting in a bit.
Okay. Let's self-market. And tagging you.
I'm not getting the updates yet. Refreshing. Yeah, I see it now. Hey, Andre. I'm not sure where he, I think he's in Facebook. Okay. You'll never understand the algorithm and how it identifies recent. Because some are recent. I can see people who I recently contacted. But then some shouldn't be recent, but they're still listed there. Yeah, it's an odd way they identify recent. Yes, we'll be starting in a few minutes. We're just warming up and sharing the link to anyone who might be interested. If you're out there, please do comment. We cannot say who's watching the stream unless you send in comments.
Okay, oops. Oh, stupids. I didn't actually get the video yet. But okay, tweeted also.
Yeah. We'll be starting in a few more minutes. Do let us know if the fan is too loud because we have the fan running in the background.
You said Andre commented, or
I saw him yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think he's on the stream.
Yeah, I know there's been a bunch of friends who started to run RPG sessions during the weekday nights. So they're probably not going to be able to watch the stream anymore.
At least not live, yeah.
Yeah. And then, well, it's still the pandemic, so yeah. It's hard to tell how many people will be available today, but that's okay. We're still going to keep talking about the stuff we love. And we shall officially start in a few more minutes.
Or at the very least, we'll talk about this game. No, kidding. What?
You know, I'm just amused that it really claims it's 25 minutes per player. It's a brave statement.
It's not terrible. It's like a rounder number, and as a slightly more uneven number, they didn't want to say 30 minutes per player. Because that's our estimate for Through the Ages,
Mm-hmm.
right? Through the Ages, even when an experienced player is about 30 minutes per player. But Unfair saying it's 25 minutes per player, yeah, I think you're just hedging your bets. Because the game, yeah, I think it can last a while. Hello, hello, Mitch. Thanks for joining. We'll talk about Unfur.
Okay. 909. I guess we can start in 1 minute. My eyes are drying out. I hope it's nothing. Ah. Ibang theme yung shirt sa game.
No, we don't have any theme park shirts apart from Jurassic. And arguably, with the expansion, it still works.
Ubos ng taho. No, there's still enough for one more serving.
Considering you had two very weird
officially
glasses
it only
today.
had two. It's only good for 2 days, supposedly, even in the ref. So officially, I should have finished it sooner. But I think I have to pace it at least one more day because I had really full glasses today. Very full glasses. Okay, I am going to start the timer. To those who are watching, again, comment so we know you're there, because sadly we can see the count, but we can't see your names. But this is Toby.
And this is Rocky.
And if it's your first time here, welcome to Baduy Pride, our little space on the internet where we talk about anything we want.
It is completely unscripted and not entirely accurate, but at least it's honest. Join us as we talk about everything and anything random live.
And if it's not your first time here, thank you so much for joining us again. This is our 185th episode. And it's a Monday, which means
we just finished the first day of work. It's stressing. No, it's board game day.
every Monday we try to cover a new board game, a new tabletop game, card game. Sometimes it's a social or party game. But we try to stick to games because Mondays tend to be heavy. So we want to end the day with something fun.
Yeah, and instead we're talking about this game. Unfair. I love me a good theme park game. I mean, like, ever since I first played Theme Park by Bullfrog, the computer game, I was like, oh my god, I love this. I love building theme parks. It's one of my favorite simulation experiences. And there are few board games that try to capture this this experience. One of the ones that we already reviewed previously was Dinosaur Island. But of course, that's very specific to not just a general theme park, but a theme park that happens to have dinosaurs.
Yes.
So it's closer to Jurassic Park than just building a theme park. But it's still a lot of fun. And we super love that game, and hence that review. Unfair is a little more on the nose, where you get to create literal theme parks. And in fact, it comes with many themes. And there are a lot of creative things about it, but there is also the promise of the game that says it is unfair, which is also why we didn't like rush to get it the first time.
The game is by Joel Finch. It allows up from 2 to 5 players, and it basically features different mechanics such as set collection, card drafting, hand management, take that powers wherein you zap each other and you try to make sure you ruin their plans, and a lot of interesting economy-based decision making. Do you spend money to get this? Do you collect the change that have fallen between the seats? Do you invest in this in hopes that it will actually pay you back in the end, unless someone shuts down your park?
His name is Toby.
No, I don't shut people down.
You
But
literally did.
so let's check out the game.
So I think first off, one of the interesting things about the game is that it organizes its card base into themes. So, for example, in the base set, you have things like the pirate theme and there's a ninja one. I think I can't remember all the base ones versus the expansions. The symbols are not super helpful because they're just letters. Jungle, pirate. What's R? Robot?
That's not listed.
No,
I thought it was
it's
listed.
just letters.
I'm so sorry. I thought it was listed.
Yeah, but okay. So that part of it is helpful, and we can actually now go into it.
Yeah.
So like from this angle. So we have vampire, robot, pirate, ninja, gangster, and then later on there were more.
So the game is pretty much a lot of cards and a few other pieces like dice. You have this very detailed little token that tracks where you are in the turns.
It's a phase tracker.
Because you have a board that allows you to keep track of how the game is progressing.
So the little tickets here represent the phases, and it's quite cute because it's not exact, but it just fits the little roller coaster car marker. There's actually two sides to the board. The other side is almost exactly the same, except it's oriented such that you can face the market to like each side of the board. So if you have players all around it, then it at least makes some of the cards more visible to them, which is a cute little design element. Like they thought about it. They thought about how it's gonna get played. But yeah.
So the cards are distributed into different types of cards. You have the park cards, which is generally the meat and potatoes of the game. Park cards are what you use to build your park, but they also may contain little tactics or little strategies that come out if you play them right or if you combo them with certain cards. Other than park cards, you have the city cards, which are white background with blue. You have the blueprint cards, which are separate from them. And then you have the event cards. Event cards serve as your timer in the game, and they come in two types. You have the initial set of cards, which are the kinder, nicer events. But then you have the unfair set of cards that comes later on. So you create a deck.
It's literally Funfair, which you can't see, blue, and then unfair.
So it's a deck composed of funfair and unfair cards. Hey, Urim. You then create the stack, and as you play, a card is revealed, which then tells everyone universally what's the event going on that day. Is it a day where there's so many people and you're earning double money? Is it a day where it's free to build certain amenities? But then when you reach the second half of the game, where it becomes the unfair cards, a lot of terrible things occur.
Yeah, so that's like, I mean, that's the main flavor of the game. That you know that there's going to be like a turn in Fiasco turn. There is a distinct turn in the game. The first half is kind of happy. The second half is kind of crappy. But that's by design, and it provides a very unique challenge to that regard. But it also means that you cannot just happily build your theme park. You must deal with the unfair elements that are like global events that affect everyone, in addition to any other events that individual players are able to play on themselves or on one another.
On a standard turn, you go through a number of phases, with the first part of the phase always being the event card draw. An event card is drawn, and everyone has to pay attention because that card is important. But before that card is played, everyone is allowed to play a city card. And city cards are, you could say, they're sort of like sorceries in Magic the Gathering, or they're like special moves that you're able to activate.
Oh, I think you switched it around. Sorry. Everybody draws an event card, and then you get to play.
Oh, yeah.
The city is the global event.
Right.
City is the unfair or funfair card.
Yeah.
And then, so everybody draws, the city event is played,
And then you choose to play which event cards you'll play to empower yourself.
yeah, and you can choose to play none.
But once you've passed, you cannot choose to play a new one until everyone has chosen to pass.
Yep.
And then we go to the park phase. And the park phase is typically composed of 3 turns, sometimes 4 if you have the right cards in play.
Yeah, if you play, there's an event that lets you take an extra action. And then this is where like the fun stuff happens, where you're gonna buy, buy stuff to add to your park, where you're going to maybe demolish existing things in your park, or just look for money.
Or take cards in the market.
Yeah. So the quirk of the game is that you are forever limited to a 5-card spread for your park, not counting the main gates. Everybody has a gate, which is the entrance to the park, and then in the course of the game, you'll be able to purchase and build up to 5 cards, and you build them starting from the gate, moving to the right. So in the early editions of Unfair, in the base game, that's fine. It doesn't matter. But then in the later editions of the game, placement can matter with an expansion. So we'll get to that later.
Now, part of what makes this game interesting is that the cards do have different flavors. As mentioned earlier, you have the pirates, you have the cowboys, you have the robots. And similar to games like Smash Up, when you choose to play Unfair, you must choose what categories you are playing with in that game. Those then are shuffled together, but please don't shuffle all of them. Separate them first by card type. So all the city cards of that category, all the
Blueprints
cards
and
of that
stuff.
category.
Yeah.
And then you shuffle their respective piles, and then those are then used in the game. So as you play the game, you might find yourself staring at the market filled with cards for the Western cards. But then you might have been working towards a more sci-fi place with your robot cards, and that will be frustrating.
Yeah, so that's like the first one where the random element of the cards will play into it. And the number of themes included in the deck is based on the number of players. It does not guarantee that any one player will just build one theme. In true Disney fashion, you can build a theme park with multiple themes inside. But it's like for certain combos to really work, you're going to have to wait a bit.
And themes are the main element in the game because as you build your park and as you go through the steps, you gain what we call icons. Icons appear similar to these, and sadly it's not that clear unless we cover the camera entirely and change the focus. Not going to happen. But yeah, so you might have icons, for example, for the thrill rides or icons for food outlets. You might have upgrades for each icons, whether they're quality upgrades, guest services, features. And these icons are necessary because at the end of the game, you then score your attractions based on the number of icons they have. For example, if you have an attraction with 5 icons, that gives you 20 points at the end of the game. An attraction, however, with 15 icons can score as high as 115 points. And the chart actually lists all the way to 25.
Yeah, which I've never seen. It's hard to like get above 5, I find, when you're playing because you only have so much money. It's just hard to build and all these things. But that's part of the charm of the game. Now the whole upgrading element is kind of fun. And then some of the upgrades are limited to like certain types of attractions. For example, you can only get air conditioning typically for what they call theaters or sideshows. So you can't get them for a roller coaster, obviously, or a thrill, other thrill rides like that, because you can't air condition the outside world. And then there are other things like cushy seats that again can only work in sideshows and can't work in rides and all these. So it's an interesting mix, and you can kind of customize and tailor your ride to be better and better. But then at the same time, it does result in some weird combinations because I think the one that always bothers me is that you can have multiple themes on an attraction as upgrades. So it's a pirate, robot, cushy theater, whatever.
It might start out that your ride is just a Western themed roller coaster. But as you upgrade and develop your park, maybe it becomes a dinosaur Western roller coaster. Other enhancements that you add to it can be as simple as quality, can be as interesting as shaded areas for lining up or bathrooms nearby.
Yes.
And by wisely
Walkers.
finding ways to build these icons, the better things get. Because keep in mind, you're still looking at only 3 actions per turn. And an action to choose a card from the market already consumes one of those, unless you can buy it directly and place it in your park. Money becomes a huge challenge in the game because it will always start, you feel you have enough money, but then by the second and
I
third
never feel like
round,
I have enough money.
money is gone.
And the funny thing is that you earn not based on upgrades, but you earn based on stars,
Mhm.
which is another thing that you'll see on the cards. And typically, you increase your chances of stars if you stretch out into multiple attractions instead of just upgrading one attraction for the rest of the
Mhm.
game, which may not necessarily make sense in terms of points, but it's just good to get diversity because you need the money in the interim to build more attractions. So it's that complex balancing act of, do I focus on stars so that I can earn more money in between the rounds, or should I just buy the cheaper upgrades and then add more icons to my ride so that it scores more points at the end of the game?
Now, timing matters because certain themes do unleash special powers when you build them.
Mm.
There are themes, for example, that when you give a certain attraction that theme, you instantly can upgrade it with quality if you have it in your hand. Another one, for example, the moment you build that theme, you earn money instantly based on the existing number of icons in that attraction. So finding the right way to chain these events is instrumental in making the game work for you.
Mitch was asking if there's upkeep, like salary or something. So
That's,
no.
well, that's where I was heading to.
Okay.
Once you're done with the park phases, you then move to the next phase, which is the guest phase. While there is no upkeep in terms of people you have to pay,
Mhm.
it is the point in time where you find out how much you get.
Yeah.
And sadly, it isn't much.
Yeah, and I think that's like the pro and con at times. It feels like, after all that work, I can't get money. And the problem is that your main gate determines your maximum guest
Mhm.
capacity for the park, which at the beginning of the game for everyone is 15.
Mhm.
So if you somehow accumulate more than 15 stars earlier in the game, you will always get 15.
As expected, everyone starts with a loan card, and the way the system works, you actually have it in front of you and rotate it as many times, up to 4 times, as you want to get money at that point in time.
It's
However,
not a lot of money. It's like $5.
the price to pay for the loan card is points you lose at the end of the game. So if you don't calculate using the loan card well, it might not even be worth it.
Yeah, and I thought the fashion mafia of Pret-a-Porter was, dangerous. These loans are like quite painful.
In addition, every player starts with 2 super attractions, and the super attractions are based on the theme. As you choose a category for each player playing, um, yeah, there's no plus one, right? It's just the categories. So let's say if there are 2-player game and it's Western dinosaurs, then that means there are 2 super attractions for Western, 2 super attractions for dinosaurs, which are shuffled, and we get one. We get both. We then have to decide if we will build them because you can only build 1 super attraction per game.
Yep.
You can, however, choose not to build either for money. You
Or
give up the blue. You
You
give up the
don't, yeah, you don't build both.
Mhm.
diba? Then when you don't build both, then you get money in exchange for it. But admittedly, the super attractions can offer some very interesting abilities, although some offer very niche abilities, in my opinion, that like then it's too much work to build.
Yeah, a lot of it were designed. A lot of it was designed to try to capture the theme in some way.
Yeah, yeah.
The robot theme sort of tries to build things automatically.
The pirates like steely,
Yeah.
ish.
Then after the guest phase, you have the cleanup phase. And usually in the cleanup phase, that's where you get rid of events that are no longer functioning. That's where you check any staff members. Those are types of cards that you have who might give you bonuses at that point in time. Some staff members give you extra coins because they're selling food or they're making sure things are going well. Other staff members actually protect you from bad events. that security guard will keep someone from coming in, or that other place will make sure you won't have any places closed down. And yes, closed down attractions are painful.
So that's like one of the most common attacks in the game. Like whether it's an event that does it, or a deliberate, a global event sort of thing that does it, or a player event that does it, you can shut down attractions in other people's parks or in all parks. And then when that happens, a shutdown attraction, of course, does not earn money at the end of the round.
Mm.
So it really makes it useless. And you see this hurt a lot when a person has been only working on one attraction and upgrading it to the gods, for it to be shut down, and suddenly their park does not generate income. They can always look for loose change as an action in the turn, but that's like literally looking for a coin instead of taking actions, which doesn't necessarily feel worth the time. But you know how a lot of games have this, the you're desperate for money action, and loose change is no different. So be careful with your attractions and try to keep them awake. But at the same time, the game is unfair. So sooner or later, something's going to get shut down.
Now, part of what gives the game an added dose of strategy are what we call the blueprints. Blueprint cards, again, come depending on the category. They look something like this, which is literally a blueprint. And they tend to have an upper and lower portion.
Mm-hmm.
The upper portion gives you the general thing you need to do for the points you get. The lower portion is an optional way to earn extra points. However, blueprints have a risk. By choosing to do blueprints, if you fail to accomplish them, you may lose points.
Which reminds me of like,
the Great Western Trail.
I could finish my sentence.
No.
But yes, like the goal things in Great Western Trail, where you get these cards as objectives and you decide whether or not you're committing to them mid-game or at the end of the game. So it's sort of like this. In this case, blueprints are hot potatoes. Once you have them in your hand, you are required to finish it.
Now you might be thinking blueprints are interesting. I can get them to see if I can fulfill them in the latter part of the game since my park is mostly done. The answer is no, because you can only grab blueprints
in the first half of
within the first half of the game. While you're still in the Funfair cards and not in the unfair city cards, blueprints are only available then.
And you know, to be fair, the blueprints are things like have a thrill ride with this type of upgrade, or have 2 amenities in addition to an attraction, whatever. So you know, they're not terrible. But you know, not quite as unique as like the Dinosaur Island blueprints when those came into play, the plans, where it's also about physical layout. Because in this case, the game doesn't really have a except for the panoramas, but it doesn't really have a big thing on placement. You build your park however you see fit.
So the base game started with the following. We had gangsters, which were all about casinos, offshore accounts, and made sure to use the dice in a certain way. You had ninjas, which were all about interactions with your competitors, whether they like it or not. You had the pirates, which had a lot of thrill rides, exciting things, and unexpected turns, which, if you think about it in terms of gameplay, they had the most stackable cards. Because almost all the thrill ride cards can be just added over and over and over again.
True.
You had the robots, which had automated construction and a wide range of amenities. Robot cards were the ones wherein if you build the theme, you're actually allowed to build something additionally for free. You have vampires, which had higher costs, but in return gave higher points and higher money. So it was a tricky thing. If you played it right, it earned you well.
No, jungle was one.
And then the last one is jungle, which is, it's all about leisure rides. It's those slow rides, those caterpillars and the like. But it then allowed you to have a larger capacity park.
Cute though is that in the guide cards, and it's not super visible, but they talk about the card distribution and then just a summary of strategy to some degree. Not an overview of what it does, and if it introduces special rules. So for example, like this jungle theme, it says it supports strategies, and and it's like a 5-point scale. Attraction size is up to 2, blueprints 1, coins sort of 3, but unfairness just 1. So
Now,
yeah,
now beyond the cards, beyond the token, beyond the dice, it does come with a bag of tokens. The tokens range from tokens you use to track money, or tokens you use to track the first player and all that. But there are also specialized tokens per category. For example, which one had it? The one that had mesmerism. Yeah, I can't remember which one had it. The one that you can hypnotize certain. Was it vampire? I think it was vampire.
vampire.
Yeah. So the vampire category, for example, came with mesmerism tokens because you could take control of other staff agents for a few rounds. There was a bunch of different tokens for different elements. But even more interestingly, when you get the expansions, you open the game to a lot of other categories.
So, and like we saw this coming because the base game provided card slots for more than just the factions that came with the game.
Mhm.
So they were going for like a smash up approach where you can all expansions would introduce more themes. The first unfair expansion isn't creatively labeled because it lists the factions on it instead. This one gives you Alien, B movie, Dinosaur, and Western as new themes.
So officially, it's unfair expansion, but many online call it expansion ABDW.
Yeah, that's what it is. If you look at the corner of the thing, if you try to, it's here on the corner of the box. But you try to flash it. It's really they just labeled it on the front where it just says unfair expansion.
So
they didn't like name the expansion anything.
So aliens add a new currency in the game that allows you to buy exotic technology. You can save the planet or sell it out. It's up to you. B movies, on the other hand, it mashes up different themes, allowing you to make things that are so awesome that they're cool. And it introduces the game system wherein the panorama display matters.
So this was like kind of cool forward thinking because as early as the pirate theme in the base game, they already had what they called panorama cards. And what these cards meant was that the little card art, when put in a certain arrangement, would form a larger photo. They stressed in the rules of the base game that this has no benefit at the moment, but later an expansion will provide ways to score with this. So depending on the faction you play, it determines what rules are in play. So just playing the pirate faction does not introduce panorama scoring, but playing with the B movies theme together with pirates will activate panorama scoring for all cards. If you get that gist.
So I think panorama cards were something we first saw in Tokaido.
Oh, okay, yes.
Because we saw them in the paintings.
When you literally get those panoramas.
So you have cards that's not that clear, but they interconnect. But even more so, there's these very tiny icons at the bottom that tell you if they fall in the center,
little rectangles,
if they're in the left or the right, because you can mix and match certain center cards with the others, but they don't always work. They best work within their category.
Yeah, typically, like if it's all cards of the same theme and you notice 2 of them occupy the same slot, most likely it's a duplicate or one is the super attraction in your hand, which may replace a slot in the panorama.
Now, the 2 other expansions include
Dinosaur, which gives you all the problems of a theme park and a zoo, because you can add dinosaurs. And then Western, which wanted to emphasize space. So thus, it's the one theme that lets you have a 6th card in your park, and it also has panorama scoring.
Yes.
So, on the whole, it's an interesting set of things. I mean, clearly, when they designed the game, they probably designed almost all the factions already, and then just split it up because having all 10 factions out at once was probably going to be too much. So the base game gives you 6, the expansion gives you 4. There probably will be another expansion at some point, and that's like your unfair overview.
Now, online, there are other expansions that have already been released, many of them being promo cards. You have the Office Intern promo card, you have the Golden Goose promo card, There's the Secret Cabal promo card, the Time Traveler, the Gen Con promo card, the Playtester promo card, um, and there was even an ABDW Kickstarter sneak peek card, which, well, we won't be able to find those, that's for sure.
I love and hate promo cards because it means that I could pay the price of an expansion for a card on the secondary market. Wow, it's so fun. And of course, most of these cards are at conventions we will never get to attend, but that's okay. That's life. That things are unfair.
So the game touts itself as being 25 minutes per player. That's literally what's written on the box.
I think it's sort of true if you only play with that that event set rule where you only do 6 cards, 3
Mhm.
funfair and 3 unfair, and not the usual 8.
But outside the city cards, the event cards, the blueprints, and the park cards, there are special cards that you choose from at the start of the game to theme your entire game. There's the beginner's card, which basically makes everything much simpler. There's I think it was World Peace card, which
So there's no
removes
unfair.
which removes all the unfair moments and makes the game feel more friendly. But then there are more interesting cards as well. I think there was one wherein you're always paying double, and then there's one wherein I think certain rides shut down every now and then because of power shortages and the like.
Yeah. So yeah, I we were hesitant to get this game at the beginning because we saw the overview and the fact that it promised to be unfair was a weird commitment.
Mhm.
And we eventually got a secondhand copy, um, and it's okay, but man, it can be quite unfair,
Mhm.
and that's the nature of the game, and that can be a little painful for newer players. So it's not quite an instant family fun game. I mean, unless you just want to have fun with it.
Mhm.
It's like people who have fun with Monopoly and having that one player not get a good round and he just never recovers. So unfair has a lot of potential for that.
Unfair could have been an interesting game wherein you build your parks and then maybe all of you are trying to accomplish things. But I can't help but feel they were a bit too tight in how the things work. So it feels less flexible than you want it to be. For example, Through the Ages is in a similar way about balancing the books and building that engine to earn you more so you can build more as you progress in the game. And Through the Ages is not kind either.
It's not easy.
There's a lot of problems if you fail to feed your people. There's a lot of trouble if rebellions happen. There's attacking each other and all that. But it still has a lot of breathing room to try different strategies.
Yeah, because Through the Ages and many games like it are puzzles, right?
Mhm.
Puzzles for you to solve. Unfair is full of curveballs because it's all random. It's the randomness of the cards in the market. It's the randomness of the city events that affect everyone. The randomness of the event cards that you also draw.
Mhm.
And while a lot of cards have, card randomness as a factor, the fact that things escalate very quickly and continue to add stress upon stress upon stress for everyone does make this game, a little more frustrating than it could be. And again, it's like, but it says it's unfair on the box. So what are you talking about? Why are you complaining? But that's the main caveat.
And I think for me, what makes it feel super tight is the fact that given the limited number of turns, you have 3 actions per turn.
Limited turns,
And then you
limited
have
cards in your park.
You have a limited number of turns in total because once the city cards run out, the game is over.
Mm.
It feels like there's so little room to do things. Wherein, in games like Through the Ages, for example, while there is still a timer, the timer is much more substantially larger. So it doesn't hurt as much to say, okay, this turn I'll just earn stone. So in the next round, I can build something. Here in Unfair, you'll spend your 3 actions collecting coins on the ground, and that might net you like 3 coins or 5 coins, and that's not enough.
Because it's based on number of attractions.
It really still forces you to do alone, and it's painful because then cards, when you look at them to purchase and build them, it's 15 coins, it's 12 coins. So there's that feeling of
And the loan gives you 5 coins per loan. What is that? So I mean, like I get it. They embrace their theme. It's just the way the game is, but it can get frustrating. And I think we've yet to see a game of Unfair where you don't, or that you can't escape that experience of someone getting shut down for like two to three consecutive turns, and they just never recover. That's it. They're gonna play through and just see what their theme park's gonna look like, and maybe like hopefully build their panorama. But um, it's a painful experience, and actually a lot of times I'm feeling guilty, like, oh, sorry, but this is how the event's gonna go. It's gonna disable you.
so you mentioned there's an app. I don't think there is. If there is one, we're not familiar with it. Um, Mitch asks, "What's your win rate?"
So we've only tracked 4 plays for this game. Toby's won 2 of them. I've won 1 of them, and the other was Christian because Christian. So sorry, circle of friends group. But yeah, and then like it's a weird spread, and then we've had more casual games of people just playing it, but um, but yeah, it can be quite painful. Um,
Would we recommend this game?
I don't strongly recommend Unfair. I would still say you're better off playing Dinosaur Island if you want to play a theme park related game. Dinosaur Island is also quite challenging. It juggles a lot of factors because you have upkeep considerations, you have security, you have to deal with the dinosaurs breaking out. But it still feels like a more fun park experience. Plus, you actually build your little park on your player board for your phase 4 board, and you can choose the arrangement. I can choose to have more food shops and things like that.
Dinosaur Island does feel like you have more room to try a strategy,
Yes.
whereas Unfair feels very much like
I'll just deal with what I get
and,
this turn.
and try to max out and see where it goes, which makes for an experience sometimes that doesn't feel like you have your own agency. If you have friends, however, who love take that systems, they're the friends who like a lot of trash talk and a lot of making sure you shut down another player and laugh about it. Then this game might be a great game for you because it is all about that. In many ways, Unfair is in the same area as games like Munchkin or games like King of Tokyo, wherein it's about seeing how far you can go while making sure others get thrown down behind you.
But even in that regard, I still feel like, yeah, Munchkin actually might be more your thing because it's the escalation of powers, and then you're just getting more and more as you start earning more treasures in Munchkin, then you have more stuff to throw at other people. In Unfair, most of the PvP stuff are tied to event cards, and you get 1 per turn, and you may play as many as you want as long as you have them in your hand. There is a hand limit at the end of the turn that counts attractions and event cards in your hand, which limits how many you can hold on to. So it's a bit of a balancing act. I mean, it depends on the faction. If you play with the gangsters team, it has a lot of PvP elements. But that's it. So again, like if you like the gimme gotcha sort of power thing, I don't know if this is still like the best thing for it because it's still so random that you may end up with all the events that just give you like double stars this turn or something or things like that. Where I have a lot of other games that have more interesting player versus player powers. Despite all this, it's like we still got the expansion. We still wanted to see where it would go, and there's still like there is still a fun factor to this. I mean, I will give credit that the card art is beautiful for the different themes. I like the look and feel of the cards. I love the panoramas when you build them. I like how each theme deck really does celebrate
Mm.
the theme. And in that sense, I do feel like I'm building a very special theme park. It's just that the gameplay itself is just um, it's very frustrating at times because sometimes, I mean, if you're gonna win, you're gonna win,
Mm.
and if you lose, you really lose. So I don't know, but that's just me. What about you, Tom?
Um, yeah. Lost my train of thought.
Oh, sorry.
So strategies. Work with the cards you have, but also bear in mind that one of the moves you can do is you can actually discard a card to draw five and then choose to keep one of the five. And it sounds like a waste, but it does allow you to dig for cards you're looking for, especially when you're trying to build certain combinations.
That's true. It's like in Villainous, where one of the main card actions is to discard cards, and you can
Mm.
discard as many as you want. And it seems like what, but really, when for games where combinations and putting things together matter, then cycling your cards can be quite useful.
Blueprints are tricky, but are worth the long term investment. Just bear in mind that if you do get a blueprint, you really have to work on it. And sometimes it might mean grabbing a card you don't really want, but it fulfills the blueprint.
Yeah, I mean, admittedly, I can be a little conservative in this area, and I only build blueprints where I've fulfilled like half the
Mm.
requirements already, and I'm on my way. So, but it really depends on you and how well you think how well you think you're gonna be able to achieve it, because you're really dependent on the market and
Mm.
what will appear. Um, I appreciate, and from a strategy perspective, never forget that all the cards in the market are essentially cards in your hand
Mm.
because you can
Directly from the market.
build items, attractions and upgrades directly from the middle row. So that's kind of cool because you're not obliged to put all the cards you want to build in your hand. Um, and then yeah, just watch the upgrades. There are not all upgrades are equal. Not all of them can stack on the same attraction. Some are only for thrill rides. Some are only for
Mm.
theaters and such. And you don't want to be the one to get over eager to build something, and then when other players look like, hey, that's not a legal move. So watch out for your
Mm.
upgrades.
Find those combos, build up to them if you can. Uh, this tends to work best, however, if you're already familiar with the different card types. But if you plan it right and you do get to make it work, it can feel fantastic. It's like taking a single turn and you're building four things in that one move.
And then like think about your super attraction. The easiest thing to do is to just trade it in for money because of the fact that you're gonna get so desperate for cash before the midpoint of the game. I feel like there's that turn 2 and 3, it's like, oh my god, I don't have money. But if things play out and like you understand the strategy behind your super attraction and you think you can buy it, then totally go for it. It's just that typically super attractions require a certain number of attractions already.
Five stars. You must have five
You
stars
must have
already.
5 stars worth of attractions in your park before you can build a super attraction, which can take a while. It's not something that's going to necessarily happen on the second turn because stars typically come either with the attraction itself or with quality upgrades, which you can play as many of as you want, but they're also very expensive. They tend to cost 5, 10, 15, 20
Mhm.
money just to build.
And then make sure you keep an eye out for the protective event cards.
Mm,
They are tremendously useful to protect yourself from other people's event cards or from really terrible city cards. So don't underestimate having one of them. It feels useless to have an event card that you feel, it
it's
only
a
works.
safety.
It only works if someone targets me. But trust me, that is so much more better than suddenly realizing, wait, what? I'm gonna shut down how many?
Yeah, I mean, I think our very last round of Unfair that we played, I had that problem where in one round they shut down one type of attraction and I was affected. In the next round, they shut down theaters, which was like half my attractions.
Mhm.
So I was shut down again. So there were 2 turns I barely earned any money. it was not fun.
Mhm.
But that's how it goes. That's just this is how the game goes. Um, Quirks also, I guess, is that as you think about if you're thinking about getting into unfair, is that the base box is designed to hold more cards than that come with the base game. But oh, wow, the theme park thing really flew. However, when you put all the cards in, you do not have enough space for the tokens, um, which is weird. So we still use the expansion box to hold the tokens because it's like all the money, all the alien currency, all the shutdown attraction markers. There's no provision. It has a little score, it's like a score pad and all that, but I don't know where
It
you're
doesn't
supposed to
fit.
put it.
And I must give them points. Nice chunky cardboard. So
I just don't know what they are. Like, they're not poker chips. They're
yeah,
things.
they're like tickets in a arcade machine.
Yeah, I
But you
guess.
see that? And even if you spread that out to fit in there, you still have another bag.
Because of the expansion.
And then they have bigger tokens,
Alien thing.
alien currency. Yeah.
So I don't know what was planned, what was going on in the box design and insert design for this game. I'm sure there's like other inserts for it, and then we sleeved this one because the second-hand set we got was sleeved to begin with, so we maintained the sleeving. Um, so it's there's just no space. There's just no space for this game. We also okay. A part of the reason why we decided to review this today is that it's only recently that we realized that there is another game by the same guy that came out or is coming out this year called Funfair.
Mhm.
So Funfair is a standalone expansion that does not connect to this in any way, but it's the same theme and it lets you build a theme park, but I guess is less unfair.
It looks like it has the same artist. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if it's the same artwork. It looks like it uses the same systems from some of the cards we've seen. They kind of look similar. So we're wondering if that might have been the game we should have gotten instead.
But it only came out this year, so we can't go back in time and give ourselves a copy of a game that just came out.
Mhm.
So that's like, ugh. Mitch is asking, most memorable theme combination? No, because it's not like Smash Up, where you feel like the player decks that you shuffle build together result in interesting combinations.
Mhm.
In this case, because the themes tend to work together, it doesn't necessarily like mash up. Like the powers don't necessarily stack well. So like certain factions are really strong with theaters and sideshow attractions. So and then other people may have theaters and sideshows, but it's not quite the same. And I don't know. Then you're just really better off focusing on a singular theme as much as possible. I know the B movie theme was supposed to support mashups more, but I didn't super feel that. I know there was like more points for diversity of themes,
Mhm.
but that was about it.
The way Smash Up makes it work is because you go through your hand faster. You're
Mm.
always drawing cards. You're always cycling cards. So even if this turn I don't have any good combos, next turn you might. Here, card movement and hand management isn't moving as quickly, so it doesn't feel like you have a chance to really build those combos if you want to find them. You actually end up, oh, this can combo, and you have to do it. You might as well do it because it's not like the chances of finding a later combo is big. So yeah, it has that frustration.
And then you get a blueprint, and blueprints tend to favor themes working. Cards of a single theme, um, whether it deliberately states the theme or it lists attraction types that match the card distribution of a theme. So yeah, the game is really angled towards like if you're gonna build one theme for best results, which is understandable but a little frustrating. Um, uh, but yeah, so I don't necessarily feel like there are themes that like instantly work together, or maybe we just haven't played enough games to really like get to that point. in the experience, because I think I've yet to have an unfair game where I didn't feel like I was just scrambling for like whatever cards I could take just to build a decent park.
Yes.
I think in most cases I end up not even building out all five cards of my park.
In terms of combos, it's really hard to say which are the most memorable ones, only because the combos are limited to number of players playing.
Mm,
And so far, if you have a two-player game, that's two themes. If you have a four-player game, that's four themes. We haven't had that many games with multiple themes yet,
yeah,
so we haven't really gotten a chance to explore them. We can see a lot of interesting possible combinations, but again, your mileage may vary on how often you'll be able to hit those or how often you'll be able to take advantage of them. Um, what else? Table space, it doesn't
ooh,
take that much space compared to games like Dinosaur Island.
but it still takes a lot of
But it
space.
still takes space because you do build a tableau in front of you. The tableau is basically your gate and your attractions,
And
but
then
then your
your staff on
attractions
the side.
have your additional vertical stack of different icons because you have to lay them out so you can see every icon. Then you have your staff members, which are further out. You have your blueprint cards, which you have to lay down. You'll have your money and any other tokens that you have to spread out, in addition to the board that's in the center of the game. But it is not as table hogging as through the ages. It is not as, oh my god, how many sheets are this as Dinosaur Island?
Yeah, it's
And
not even as crazy as Machikoro, because I think
yes,
Machikoro you end up with a very wide tableau. It's just I think the only frustration is the upgrade stack. Like because you have a ride and then every upgrade will be under it. So then you have this weird uneven solitaire arrangement in front of you. And given that you are ending up aiming to have icons of like 5, 10 icons on a card,
mhm.
then that literally means probably 5 or 10 cards stacked on top of each other in a fan out spread. So it still requires table space. It's just a weird arrangement. Like you could just build one attraction with a gazillion upgrades, and that's your challenge for the day. Yeah. What else? What else about it? So yeah, not a strong recommendation for this game. It's still quaint. I mean, I don't regret that it's in our collection. I'd still play it, but then like I always brace myself, like especially once we finish the Funfair card round. It's like okay, here we go. It's that roller coaster dip, and
Mhm.
it's the flavor of the game, and it definitely delivers as advertised. What? I'm trying not to be a downer, but I'm being a bit of a downer.
Yeah.
It's I know, I'm sorry, but it's just how the game makes you feel every time you play.
So, other than that, we're not aware of any other incoming expansions other than Funfair itself. We don't know of any digital implementations. There probably is one on Tabletop Simulator, Tabletopia, but we are not aware of it. And
I think I've seen someone on Tabletop Simulator.
and then I think the last thing we can add is that when we do play this, we still do end up having accompanying music in the background just to give us the feeling that it's still interesting. So we still play amusement park related music if we can, but not as iconic as the Jurassic Park theme when we play Dinosaur Island.
I find that the theme music from past theme park and sim theme park games works best.
Mhm.
Playing Disney atmospheric music isn't inherently intuitive or
And we tend to use that more
memorable.
for villainous.
Yeah, it really depends on like I guess also your affinity for Disney. What do you like most about Unfair, Toby?
I think what drew me the most is the art. It's nicely drawn. It's the illustrations are colorful. They lend interesting stories as you build it, as you start imagining. So you have a vampire roller coaster, and it's now a vampire western, and then your mascot is this robot. So it has those funny moments when you think about it. But then again, the game will smack you down when you realize you're so happy with your robot mascot, then someone steals your robot.
Mesmerism. Yeah, I think I will admit that the art is fantastic. We should look up the artist. The art is really good, and I mean, actually, I feel like the weakest art is on the box,
Mm.
on the outside of the box. But when you look at the insides of the how it's lined, they did these beautiful little sprawls of what the theme park could look like. It's on the expansion and the base game. Those are super beautiful. And then you get to the cards, especially when they panorama together. Oh my gosh, it's super amazing. So like on games where I'm struggling to win, then I'm like, I'm just gonna build my park, and I'm going to finish this tableau with my super attraction in the middle, and to heck with all of you, and that's like my saving grace. And I think my love for wanting to build a theme park um, still gets scratched in this game, like because uh, the upgrades, as weird as the stacks can be, and all these things makes sense, and I like that it makes sense that oh my roller coaster now has all these additional loops as upgrades because
Mhm.
thrill rides keep upgrading that way, and I put guest lockers so that people can deposit their stuff before they get in, and there's a merchandise store or something. So there I like that element of it. I don't inherently understand why this is the main scoring mechanic, but yeah, I agree that it builds stories in themselves, and then you get to explain what your park is. Um, it's all fun and games until you get shut down.
Which I guess is why it's unfair.
Unfair.
So yeah, I think that pretty much covers everything. Um,
Mitch suggests that we should look for an OST theme park, a theme park OST, which includes like sounds of someone barfing and the like, or it's been ooh ah. And I think you need a soundboard or something like that, but it's totally possible.
or we just combine sim theme park with sounds of people talking in the sim language. So we feel
Mm.
like we have a lot of people attending the park.
Mm.
But beyond that, would we get the expansion if a new one came out?
For the main unfair,
Yeah.
I'm still curious to see what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
We're probably still gonna get it. I always tell Toby, this is not like rush the pre-order game, but if there's a chance to add to it, sure. Because there are some great ideas that come out in this game. Um, the expansions, alien currency, the wide frontier of the West, the panorama scoring, totally changed how the game
Mhm.
works out. And then like I feel like I don't want to play without panorama scoring.
Mhm.
Like I like that mechanic.
Because if you think about it, unfair in many ways, sorta is a re-implementation of Tokaido,
In some
wherein
ways.
a single round might be three actions or more, depending on how you play it. Money is super scarce, and everyone's grabbing the same money when they can. But unlike Tokaido, unlike Unfair, Tokaido allows you to really choose what action you'll take.
Mm.
And then if you can't afford it, then you still have the option to choose other things. Here, when you get stuck with the money problem, or you get stuck with not seeing the cards you want, there isn't that many ways to circumvent it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, maybe that's what this needs. It needs free actions or something. Because like we going to the Tokaido comparison,
mhm,
like if you run out of money, there's still things you can do,
yeah,
and you'll still move forward. You just won't be able to score certain things, and I don't know how to address that in unfair, or if there's a way to get more money.
or like maybe every round they should have given a little bit of an extra boost. Like maybe during the cleanup phase, you decide five money or two cards, and that just gives you the chance to reorient your strategy, and
Yeah,
it could have been
maybe,
something like that.
maybe. Yeah, but it's I still want to see, and I think I also because I still want to see the cards. I love the cards. I don't mind the fact that we sleeve this
Mhm.
game. I want to see what happens. Okay,
So I guess that's it. That is our episode all about Unfair and its expansion, the Unfair expansion. we
Or better known as Alien B-movie Dinosaur Western.
we still had a lot of fun talking about it, even if we don't enjoy the game as much as we do many of our other games. And we hope you'll join us again next time.
For questions or suggestions for future episodes, fill out the Google form at bit.ly Baduy Pride Ideas. You can follow us on Twitter, Altovino Shade, RG Sunico.
You can also check out our blog, baduypride.com, for all the previous episodes and stuff about us.
Feel free to continue the conversation in the comments below and let us know what your unfair gaming experiences have been like. Are we just unnaturally unlucky and have everyone else been having super awesome theme park experiences with Unfair? I am very curious to know. And be sure to subscribe for notifications, whether on Facebook or YouTube, so you don't miss our next live stream. Once again, I'm Rocky.
And I'm Toby.
And this is Baduy Pride. Thanks for watching.